What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Tinted Visors podcast. I'm Caden, he's Kenny, and today we're hitting you with episode 13. We're going to start with some World Junior group stage recaps. Then we're going to take a look back on our old standing predictions from the start of the season, kind of compare that to what we think will happen now that we're almost halfway through the year. Finally, we're going to quickly touch on the goal record debate, if Ovechkin can break it, introduce a new player who can also maybe break the record, and finally, we're going to be hitting you guys with trivia as always. That being said, let's get this going. So just before we get going here today, as always, card of the day. Kenny and I are both back home clearly, so Kenny, let's see what you got today.
Today I got for you another Nikita Kucherov card. Again, this is a rookie card from the 13-14 Skybox Premium set. Not many rookie cards out there for Nikita Kucherov. This one is numbered 77 out of 299. Super clean card, gold design. Obviously, super young Kucherov there. But like I said, it's really rare. A lot of his stuff, Young Guns. The Prism has a rookie card as well, but this one, a lot of rare cards out there for Nikita Kucherov.
Yeah, Skybox, kind of a forgotten set. Still a sweet card, especially considering that it's a rookie. So mine, we're going with an Elias Pettersson card. We have an Elias Pettersson Frameworks. Not a crazy expensive or rare card, but I do like the idea behind it. I like the jersey in the background. Very cool card. Bought it at a card show, and it is a card from SP Game Used 2019-2020. Alright, so hopping into today's content, we're going to start with the hottest topic right now, the U20 World Juniors Championship. Kenny, who's impressed you through the group stage so far?
Yeah, a lot of teams, a lot of players, a lot to choose from so far. Obviously, it's not officially done the group stage yet, as a lot of teams have only played 3 games, and they all got the 4th one to go. But Sweden, elephant in the room, they're 3-0, and they haven't let in a goal yet. Going undefeated in the group stage, it's not really uncommon for teams like Canada, US, Sweden, but going, not scored against for the first 3 games, that's practically unheard of, especially with all the sort of high-scoring games that we see these days. Talking about players, I think obviously there's a lot to choose from. A lot of Slovakians out there that are doing really well. Obviously, being a Tampa fan, I do want to point out Isaac Howard on Team USA leading the team in points, tied with Frank Nazar, but he's got 5 goals in 3 games. Shootout winner, ice-cold Selly. What more can you ask for from a second-line player? Doing really well, really excited, coming from a Tampa fan.
Howard's almost come out of nowhere on a team that was star-studded. Names like Will Smith, Ryan Leonard being thrown around. He kind of flew under the radar, and he's really shown up for that Team USA squad, looking for him to continue it in the knockout stage. The team that's really impressed me so far, Kenny, we got to show some love to the leader of the B group right now, Team Slovakia. Still have to play USA in their final game, but they're leading the division right now, and they look really good. One player I do want to note, Servac Petrovsky. A wild 6th round pick in 2022, has 8 points in 3 games and 5 goals. He looks really good. It is a very small sample size, but the Wild may have another late round European steal on their hands.
Yeah, he's on an amazing start so far, and fellow countryman Philip Mazar, he's producing points as well. No goals yet, but I'm sure those will come later. And as long as those two can keep producing for them, Slovakia can go really deep in this tournament. And speaking of going deep in the tournament, Caden, who do you have coming out?
They may be the favorite now. Haven't looked at the line or anything, but before the tournament, if you asked me this question, I would have said Team Sweden, and I'm sticking with that pick. I think Team Sweden can very easily come away with the gold medal. The host team has looked great. Like you mentioned earlier, 0 goals allowed so far through 3 games, which is elite. It's almost perfect. Led by Elias Pettersson on the blue line. He's been a minutes muncher, and he's been an absolute monster for them. They're getting that scoring punch from their forwards, and I see no reason why this is going to stop. Coming in second, I do have Team USA. Very well-rounded team, star-studded, lots of depth. Could even pull off the upset against Sweden in the finals. Who knows what could happen. And despite their lackluster group stage, I do still see Team Canada walking away with the bronze. Not as a strong team as we've seen in recent memory, but I still think good enough to medal.
Yeah, I have a very similar top 3 to you. As good as the Slovaks are, and as good as Czechia is playing, I do think the top 3 will be US, Sweden, Canada. I think USA, they went with an older squad this year. Obviously they took a lot of flack for not bringing along Cole Eiserman, but they got a lot of returning players and a lot of skill on that roster. But I do think they have the edge over Sweden. I'm excited to see that matchup if it were to take place. I think those are the 2 best teams of this tournament, so I hope that is the final. and I do think they take the win over Sweden. Sweden had a rough start. That player going out 15 seconds into the tournament, getting a game suspension on top of it. It's very unlucky for him. I feel for him, but at the end of the day, you just got to be smarter with your stick, with what you do. With 5 feet from the boards, 3 feet from the boards. It was a bad hit and it was a bad penalty. But Sweden, they're playing unreal right now, and it's going to be hard to beat. I do think USA takes them, but I think a silver for Sweden is, it's going to be disappointing for them, but it's that nothing to be ashamed about. What would be disappointing for Canada will be the bronze medal. We just don't think that they are strong enough. Obviously, goaltending is doing really well right now. A little underrated, just coming in. Not really many people really knew about them. But I think the defense is just lacking. That's where the depth really, lacks compared to Sweden, compared to Team USA. Obviously, with those two injuries early on, it really hits them hard on defense, and I think that's really going to hinder them come semifinals, come the finals if they do make it. Obviously, the forward group's doing really well. Celebrini's leading the way, which is kind of surprising, being the underage player that he is, and also having Fraser Minton, Poitras, all those guys that should be leading the way for them. It's in fact Celebrini who's doing really well, and good on him. But again, just the depth with the defense, I do think that's going to hold Canada to third place.
And going into the tournament, a lot of people were saying that goaltending was going to be Canada's biggest weakness, but they're stepping up big for them. Rousseau's playing out of his mind, stood on his head against Sweden, and almost won them that game. Those two goals, not on him. He played excellent. And you talk about the experience that USA has and Sweden. In Canada's experience, or lack of experience for better word, Owen Beck, the only returning player on this U20 team, and he's not even in their top six. He's still a bottom six guy. This Team Canada team is very inexperienced. They lost a lot of guys from last year, and it's going to hurt them. A nation can't keep winning over and over again. There's going to be some down years, and I do believe this is a down year for Canada. Although disappointing, I would not be surprised if Canada walks away with the bronze medal. And considering how well the Slovaks are playing, there's always a chance that if Canada's playing in that bronze medal game against them, they may not medal.
Yeah, guys, we'll see how the World Juniors play out in the next week or so. But for now, we're going to move back into the NHL and sort of compare the current standings about halfway through the season with our predictions at the start of the season. So, looking at the Pacific Division, the only change that really is there is Vancouver and Edmonton are swapped. Everything else is what we predicted, with Vegas being in second, followed by LA, Seattle, Edmonton, Calgary, Anaheim, and San Jose. Obviously, the last three teams, pretty predictable how their seasons would sort of pan out. But Edmonton's the big surprise in the fifth seed right now. And there's not much to say. It's goaltending, really. A lot of flack was put on to, guys like Jack Campbell, guys like Stuart Skinner, and they're just not pulling their weight. And it's as simple as that. Obviously, the team could be playing better in front of them. Obviously, could use a couple more goals, especially depth players, but the goaltending is just not there right now. And then when you look up at the Vancouver Canucks, the other team that we had in the wrong spot, first place is looking pretty good. Obviously, a lot of players who are having really good seasons. A lot of those paces will not continue. It's just how it is in the NHL these days. But for now, the Canucks are going to enjoy it. And Caden, I'll let you talk a lot more about the Vancouver Canucks.
Smashing expectations. We had them in the second wild card spot and top of the Pacific right now. It's been it's been everything you've wanted out of as a Canucks fan out of the Vancouver Canucks this year. JT Miller's producing third in the league in points currently. Elias Pettersson having a great contract year, and Quinn Hughes really showing he's a Norris candidate. And let's not forget to show some love. That's your Demko. If the season ended today, he would definitely be in the running for the Vezina. We'll see if he can keep this pace. Hopefully, he's at least another having another All Star year, can make it back to the All Star game, and we'll see where the Canucks finish. I am expecting a bit of regression from them. I do think LA and Vegas do have much more complete teams than us, so I could see us being a 2 seed, more likely the 3 seed. But honestly, great season from the Canucks. Really excited to see them in the playoffs again.
But looking at Edmonton, where do you think they finish in these standings? You think they climb up to maybe three, maybe four? Or you think they stick down at five?
Edmonton is a tough one, as like you mentioned, the goaltending. Jack Campbell was sent down to the AHL a while back and recently lost the starting job down there. The fall off is crazy. I got a feel for him. He's a great guy, really liked around the league. It's tough. It can happen to anyone. But when you have McDavid and Draisaitl on your team, you're always going to be competing. and they've been on a heater recently. I could very well see this Oilers team clicking, getting it going, and heating up come the All Star break. I think they can finish still as high as two, honestly. I really think they could turn the season around and still put themselves in a good spot to be successful in the playoffs. They could very well end up being a wild card team, just considering how poor of a start they had this year. Only time will tell. But when you've got that forward depth, you have guys like Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, and the emergence of Evan Bouchard. He's having a great year this year. I think Edmonton has all the pieces. They just need to get it to work.
Yeah, I definitely do see them climbing. Obviously, Seattle is not having the greatest season, so I do think they could surpass them. But looking at that top three, it's a very solid top three with LA, Vegas, and then Vancouver at the top. It'll be hard to sort of crack them and sort of make their way as Edmonton making their way up the standings, and especially just playing catch up all season. It's going to be tough. Right now, they're 11 points behind LA, 16 behind Vegas and Vancouver. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to rely on a lot of those top three teams playing very poorly, as well as you starting to play really well. So a lot of stuff has to click for them, but it needs to start now. Like we said, we're just around halfway through the season. It needs to start now. They got to start winning. They got to start putting their game together.
No, for sure. And if they don't, they still squeak in as a wild card. If I'm a one seed and I see I'm playing Connor McDavid in the first round, I am a little scared. So if Edmonton does end up having a wild card spot, upset watch in whoever they're playing. So moving on to the Central, for every great division you predict, obviously only flipping Vancouver and Edmonton, and we've got it spot on. You're gonna have some stinkers, and I believe that's kind of what our Central Division prediction is looking like. Kenny, take it away. What do we see?
Yeah, I mean, we bragged about the Pacific a lot for a reason because our Central was just that terrible. But we do have two teams in the right spot. Obviously, Chicago being last place, not really surprised anyone, and Nashville being in fifth place, which is what we predicted as well, just sort of a little bit above the mediocrity line. But a lot of teams are doing really well, and a lot of teams are doing pretty bad compared to what their preseason predictions were. Minnesota, obviously a very rough start. They have turned it around under John Hines, but again, similar to Edmonton, they're just playing catch up all season long. And if they wait too long before getting on a hot streak, it's going to be too late for them. But on the flip side, Winnipeg, we had them pretty down low in the predictions, and they're second place right now, above teams like Dallas, above teams obviously like Minnesota, who were originally supposed to be the top contending teams of this division. Winnipeg's, they're stringing along a lot of really good games. Obviously, it's tough with Kyle Connor out right now, but their acquisitions are really stepping up. Like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, that Dubois trade is really working out for them. Velarde, Iafallo, they're getting that depth scoring, and Connor Hellebuyck's having an amazing season. We talk about Thatcher Demko. We also got to talk about Hellebuyck. When we talk about the Vezina, he's got to be in that conversation. There's a lot of other teams moving around, but I'll leave that for Caden to touch on.
No, Connor Hellebuck having a great year. A lot of people wrote him off to start the year, but his resurgence has been elite. He's proving he's still a top goalie in this league and really backstopping that Winnipeg team to the 2 seed. Another team in the Central Division I want to touch on, the Arizona Coyotes. We disrespected them at the start of the year, putting them just above the Blackhawks in the 7 seed. But right now they're 4th in the Central Division and good enough for the first wildcard spot in the Western Conference. Clayton Keller leading the way, obviously, and flanked by guys like Nick Schmaltz, and Logan Cooley's also having a pretty good rookie year. Mullet Arena's buzzing, so are the Coyotes. We'll see if they can keep it up because I would love to see the Coyotes back in the playoffs.
Oh, it would be a great atmosphere, especially in that arena. They would pack that 5,000 capacity to the max. And the other team that we got wrong is Colorado. I mean, they're on the first in the first seed right now, and what we said in the predictions was that they wouldn't really be able to replace Landeskog, but it seems like they've overcome that. They're obviously doing really well right now. They are 2 games ahead of both Winnipeg and Dallas, and 1 point ahead of both of them. So there are a chance that they sort of fall to as low as 3 by the time the next game is over. But they're leading the way right now. Cup champion 2 years ago. They could run it back. We'll see what happens in the Central.
There were some questions about Colorado's depth coming into the year as the retooling happened with the acquisitions of Ryan Johansson and Ross Colton, and it seems to have worked out. Colorado's still a powerhouse, led up front by their big guys McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar, all having great years. Look for Colorado to continue this, be the 1 seed in the division, and make another deep playoff run. Want to touch on the Chicago Blackhawks really quickly. Having the season we all expected, would be crazy if they got the first overall pick again. Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard would be an elite duo. But Connor Bedard, obviously a very hot name right now, on pace for 35 goals this year. Kenny, do you see him sustaining this pace, maybe even increasing the pace, or do you see him falling off a bit?
I think you'd be wrong if you don't think he's going to maintain or even increase the pace. Both of us thought that his pace would slow down with the loss of Taylor Hall, with the loss of Corey Perry, and it seems like it's only, increased since then. He's got even more, ice time, even more chances now that those guys are out of the lineup. And yeah, there's not much help there in Chicago, but he's thriving no matter what. They won 2-1 over Winnipeg a couple of days ago, or maybe a week ago, and both goals were his. It seems like whenever there's a goal scorer for the Chicago Blackhawks, his name is written all over it. And I do think he keeps that pace up. I do think he could, flirt with point per game pace by the end of the season. I think it'd be really great. And I think, as of now, the Calder's slipping away from the rest of the group, and I think he's a lock for sure.
Running away with it for sure, and a generational talent. An absolute treat to watch, and he is just an absolute stud. Not only is he scoring these goals, he's playmaking. He's making those around him better, and he's setting up his teammates for prime scoring chances. Love watching Bedard. Very excited to see him grow in the coming years.
Jaga, just moving on, we're going to see how those divisions end up by the end of the season and see if we were any much closer or further away from what we predicted. But we want to talk about the goal scoring record, and there's obviously two big names in that sort of debate. Obviously, Wayne Gretzky's at the top right now, but Caden, who do you think the most pure goal scorer is? Austin Matthews or Alex Ovechkin?
It's tough to say, both great goal scorers, but I do think Austin Matthews has a slight edge in that regard. Just more ways to score. Honestly, when we think of Ovi, we think of that 1T. Austin Matthews has that toe drag release, but what's not talked about is how he plays off the puck. He moves really well without the puck, has a nose for the net, and really just finds himself in open space a lot. He's got playmakers like Marner and Nylander setting him up. I think he's a more pure goal scorer than Ovi.
It's a great argument. Obviously, he's got that versatility. But, Ovechkin, he's been scoring goals, since he could probably walk. I mean, he's got consistent pace year in, year out. Obviously, yeah, you can make the argument that it's just in the office, but he's got a wicked wrister as well. He's got the moves. Obviously, he's got that famous goal against the Arizona Coyotes, or at that time it was Phoenix Coyotes. But I don't know how much more creative you can be when it comes to goal scoring. So I do think in that sort of debate, I think he is the more pure goal scorer. But with that being said, who do you think will end up with more goals by the end of their career?
Tough to say. I do believe Ovechkin will break this Gretzky goal record. But who's not to say at the end of the day, at the end of both their careers, Austin Matthews isn't the one walking away with the goal record. He's on a ridiculous pace right now. I believe he's on pace for about 70 goals this year. Ovechkin's never done that before. Ovechkin has the longevity, but Matthews, I believe, has way more potential to break this goal record. The shot and the way he moves off the puck, his hockey IQ, I think is way better than Ovechkin's. And, it's not something a lot of people are talking about. There have been a few videos kind of going out recently shining some light on the potential Matthews has, but watch out for him with this goal record if he can keep this pace.
I disagree with you, but I do think Ovechkin will end up with more. And it's just, the fact that, the stats are there for Ovechkin. He's had basically his whole career. It's on paper. With Matthews, it's just unknown. You don't really know what will happen in his career. Maybe he moves on to another team. Maybe the goal scoring stops. It's just hard to say so early in his career. Obviously, Ovechkin's got 12, 13 years on him, so we'll see maybe down the line. But I do think Ovechkin ends up with more goals, and I do think a big part of that is just the teams that he's been on. Obviously the Capitals were a very bad team. They were bad enough to get the first overall pick, obviously. And ever since he was drafted, the team's got consistently better to a point where they were a perennial President's Trophy team. And at that point, just helping him score more and more goals as the team got better, the players got better around him. With Matthews, I think it's the opposite. I think his team's been really good at the very, beginning of his career. Obviously, that helps him score goals. Obviously, he's doing it on his own as well. But I think just with the cap, I think the Leafs are just going to get worse and worse. They have a really short window right now. But I think with the potential loss of a guy like William Nylander, maybe if John Tavares has to get moved, and I think if the team starts to do a lot worse, I think that goal scoring pace will slow down. So again, just moving on, we are at our trivia part of the podcast episode.
Simple career path for you. 4 teams here. We're going to go with the Red Wings to start, Rangers to the Carolina Hurricanes, and wrapping it up with the New Jersey Devils.
He's an active player.
They are an active player, yes. Played a good portion of the team's games this season, actually.
Wow. Okay, I've got a name. Don't know how right it is.
Who are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking of Brendan Smith right now.
Okay.
You know what? I think off the top of my head, I think I'm gonna go with Brendan Smith.
Brendan Smith is correct. There you go.
There you go.
Trusted the
Wow.
instincts, got it right. Bit of a forgotten name, honestly. I think he's kind of been a bottom pairing seventh D man for the Devils, but he has played a good portion of the games. I believe he's in his 20s, 25-ish games played, maybe a bit more. But yeah, Brandon Smith nailed it on the head.
A career path for you if you are ready.
Absolutely. Let's get it
Um,
going.
I will say that he did play last season, and this season he has not played an official NHL game. So just 1 year removed.
Okay.
A lot of teams on this list here. We've got the Dallas Stars,
Yeah.
to the Ottawa Senators, Calgary Flames, Washington Capitals, Edmonton Oilers, Vancouver Canucks, and then most recently the Detroit Red Wings.
Went to the Red Wings last year. So he played for them last year. Called it quits. Hasn't played yet. Can't tell me how many years he played at the Wings, can you?
Just the one.
1 year with the Wings? Oh, so he's recent for the Canucks. That's really awkward. Wow. Oh no. It's kind of clicking.
Let's hear out the thought process.
Yeah, so I don't think this guy well, if it is him, he's played for all of these teams, but I don't remember half these teams. The Sens seems right. Definitely started his career with the Stars. The Oilers, yes. The Canucks, yes. And I do remember him on the Wings. Yeah, this guy was awful for us. There's no two ways about it. Can you give me Alex Chason?
I can give you Alex Jason. That is a good shout. That is your 1-for-1 guess. There you go. And I mean, you're spot on. Was not a very good player, but he managed to find himself on the power play. A lot of opportunities. I don't know why. Was involved in that Jason Spezza trade, but yeah, there you go. You got him,
Oh,
Alex
man.
Jason.
I can't believe you reminded me of that name. That is awful. All right, Kenny. So my next question for you is about the current NHL season. 3 lives as always, but can you name the top 10 goal scorers from this season so far? At the time of recording, it is December 30th. So that's what we'll be basing the stats off of. Kenny, take it away.
Oscar Matthews,
In the one.
Nikita Kucherov,
2,
Brock Besser,
1, 2, 3.
Pastrnak,
Pasternak down in the 6.
Sam Reinhart.
Sam Reinhart in the 4.
I don't know if Kyle Connor is still up there. Zach Hyman,
Zach Hyman. There you go. You can have him in the 7.
Mikko Rantanen.
Mikko Rantanen, one of the 2 players tied for 10. 7 for 7.
How Crosby's doing. Give me Kyle Connor.
Kyle Connor's incorrect.
We'll go Nathan McKinnon.
Nathan McKinnon. You can get him in the 8.
I wonder if Rupe Hintz is there. I know he got a hat trick.
Did get a hat trick the other night.
I got lives. I'll go Rupe Hintz.
Rupe Hintz, incorrect. He only has 14 goals on the year.
Artemi Panarin.
Artemi Panarin is correct in the 5.
Okay.
Has 20
Okay,
goals.
Okay.
It's really coming down to the
Okay.
wire here. Here we go.
Okay. Go for Jake Gensel.
Jake Gensel, Kenny, is incorrect. You were looking for his teammate, Sidney Crosby.
Crosby?
You were right there. You were right there.
Oh, man. That's impressive. What is he, 37? That's crazy.
Yeah, he's going crazy. The 19 goals, above point per game. Still having a great year. Came really close. He started off hot, kind of faded off towards the end, but still a very solid effort.
All right. I do have another career path for you, and it does include Vancouver once again.
Okay.
I don't know if that's going to help or if that's going to make it a little more embarrassing. Who knows?
Yeah, that's tough.
We're going to start with the Buffalo Sabres,
Okay.
the St. Louis Blues,
Yeah.
the Vancouver Canucks,
Okay.
and then the Anaheim Ducks.
Currently playing?
Not currently playing.
Not currently playing. First impression, nothing's clicking.
He retired after the 2020-2021 season.
Think of Canucks Ducks, you think of guys like Del Zotto, he already did him. Ryan Kessler even. didn't play for either of those two teams. So, can you tell me what years he played with the Canucks? Is that too much, or
He played from 2014 to 2017.
he was there for the playoff appearance in 2015? Can you give me his position by chance?
I will not give you his
Will
position.
not give me his position.
I will not.
Okay, okay.
Is that a hint? I don't know. But I
Could
will
be.
not give you.
Could just be you messing with me. Oh, so maybe it was a hint. Maybe it was a hint because we're putting it together. Had some great years in Buffalo. Didn't
Yeah,
realize
he
he
did.
played for the
He did.
Blues. Had some
Mhm.
heartbreak in Rogers Arena as well. Kenny, can I have Ryan Miller?
I can give you Ryan
Oh,
Miller.
what a shout.
Wow.
He was a great goalie. Loved watching him with Buffalo. I remember as a kid, super excited to see him join the Canucks. But my young brain thought I was getting prime Ryan Miller. Not a washed up Ryan Miller. Was still okay for us, wasn't great. Just some dark years for Vancouver fans.
Yeah, I
And
mean, he walked into a tough team.
yeah,
He's got the famous diving save against Detroit, and I'll always remember that. Rushing back towards the net. So, yeah, great goalie, though.
no, absolutely. All right, guys, this is going to be all from us today. Thank you so much for watching, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on the socials. Trying to post there a little more consistently, but look for content on there. Kenny, a word?
No, just thanks for watching. This is the last episode of 2023, so next time we talk to you guys, it'll be in the new year. But yeah, so happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Wishing you all a happy new year. And that's going to be it. Take care, guys.
In the work, but I don't be getting my flower. You really thought she would be sweet? It's a whole nother level.